China, India, Russia, and Brazil will all fall short and have no chance to compete with this superpower.
I have a big question, which is who runs the world?
I'm talking about, of course, you guessed it, Europe. This is Europe, the second biggest economy on earth, with the best standard of living in the world. While other parts of the world still struggle with basic necessities like running water in Turkey, where 60% of the country is prone to desertification, or consistent electricity in India, where around 34% of households experienced outages in 2022, Europe stands apart. Europe has consistently offered the best standard of living, making it a very desirable location to live and work, attracting the most educated people from around the world. This brain drain from developing countries fuels Europe's innovation, a key reason why this century will be remembered as the European century. You've probably seen videos claiming that Europe and America are in decline, while other countries like India, China, and Brazil are on the rise. Well, that's all a bunch of nonsense. In this video, we'll examine the good, the bad, and the ugly, showing how Europe has unified like never before and stands as the strongest force in the world once again. I am very curious about your opinion on the subject, so make sure you guys leave a comment and let me know what do you think. After the World Wars, Europe was in ruin. The old superpowers, once dominated, were brought to their knees by conflict. In the aftermath of World War II, America emerged on top due to its largest educated population and untouched mainland. However, Europe didn't remain in ruins. Throughout resilience, competition, and innovation, Europe rebuilt itself, transforming into a powerhouse of economic strength, technological advancement, and cultural influence. We will explore how Europe has risen to prominence once again, and why it stands to be the dominant force in the world for years to come. This resurgence didn't happen overnight. It took decades of strategic planning, collaboration, and an unwavering commitment to progress. The formation of the European Union was a key step in this journey, fostering economic integration, political stability, and social cohesion among its members. This union allowed Europe to present a united front on the global stage, amplifying its influence and power. One of the key factors behind Europe's success is its investment in education and research. European universities are among the best in the world, attracting students and scholars from every corner of the globe. This influx of bright minds fuels innovation and drives advancements in technology, medicine, and the arts. Furthermore, Europe's robust social welfare system ensures a high quality of life for its citizens. Universal healthcare, comprehensive social security, and strong labor protection creates a society where people can thrive. This in turn attracts a highly skilled workforce, bolstering the continent's economic strength. As an example, here in Spain, many well educated Americans move for the lifestyle. They fall in love with the vibrant atmosphere, which starkly contrasts with the car centric cities. And they are opening businesses, creating opportunities, and making Europe their new home. This is something that would have been hard to imagine in the past, where the American dream was strong and the roles were reversed. But this doesn't answer an important question. Could Europe overtake the USA economically?
Europe's economy is turning the corner. Inflation rates are returning to target and growth is gradually strengthening. In light of the pandemic and the energy cost shock, this is a remarkable achievement. What should Europe do to grow faster? The EU lags behind the US in per capita GDP by about 30%. And at recent growth rates, it would take 80 years for Europe to catch up. So what does it take to change this materially? Just to cut the time in half to 40 years, Europe would need to grow by 0.3 percentage points faster annually than forecast. This is of course a challenge, And Europe needs to do even better. So what should be done? In the EU, policies that support greater integration through its single market are key. They include 1. Advancing the capital markets and banking union. This will raise returns on savings, expand businesses' access to the financial instruments they need, and improve capital allocation. Advancing the capital markets union will also help make the EU's business sector more vibrant, with easier access to funding and with fewer barriers to the region's markets. Companies can scale more easily. 2. Strengthen Europe's internal trade in goods and services. Just by lowering the remaining barriers to the single market by 10%, the EU would raise output by 7%. This measure alone would raise growth close to the illustrative 0.3% higher growth per year that I mentioned earlier. Industrial policies have recently been proposed as another way to raise growth. They benefit some firms, but hurt others. And as such, they will not solve the problem of lower productivity growth. A deeper single market will. 3. A more productive Europe needs a larger pool of qualified workers. Right now, 80% of EU firms say that a lack of skilled workers is holding back investment. Europe needs to invest in education and skills to use new technologies, support women to stay in the labor market, and make it easier for workers to move across borders. With a unified labor market, talent would more easily meet opportunity. And 4. Europe will not close the income gap without technological innovation. This requires incentives and investment around research and development, alongside stronger links between businesses and universities. Together, these measures will foster more capital that's better allocated, create a larger, more efficient labor supply, and give firms across Europe the environment they need to grow into global players.
Despite headlines and feelings on the contrary, the EU improved compared to the United States over the past decade on relevant GDP indicators. If you thought otherwise, you were likely looking at the wrong data. In 2008, the euro was worth almost $1.50. By 2022, it had fallen back to close parity. As a result, the EU economy, measured in current US dollars, would have declined in dollar terms compared to the US, even if it had huge growth rates. When you weight other indicators, such as economic output adjusted for purchasing power parity, PPP, per capita GDP, or productivity per hour worked, it's almost as if a miracle has occurred with the European economy, looking far better. Adjusting for purchasing power, the EU output fell only 4% behind that of the US over the last 20 years. Looking at the GDP per capita, the EU 27 grew faster than the United States, thanks in great part to Eastern Europe catching up and Western Europe holding steady. The only bad news here is for Italy, Southern Europe. Their GDP per capita kept falling behind until recently, when they are doing a little better. Even Germany doesn't look so bad when you examine the right metrics. In GDP per hours worked at purchasing power standards, Germany surpassed the United States in 2022, completing a decade-long comeback story. Well then, is it all upside heading into future years? Not quite. Europe lacks big tech companies, its reliance on renewable and foreign energy, and its limited availability of venture capital are all problems to overcome, and its declining and aging population isn't a recipe for stellar growth either. Still, expectations are somewhat more positive than the market consensus. Europe proved more resilient against the cutoff of Russian gas than expected. The hike cycle in central bank rates is ending and labor markets are super strong. But it's not just about economic power. Europe's cultural influence is unparalleled. From the Renaissance to the modern era, European art, literature, and philosophy have shaped global culture. Today, Europe continues to be a surprising soft power. Soft power measures the ability to advance foreign policy goals by disseminating and manipulating ideas, information, and institutions that help persuade other countries to act in particular ways. Soft power is employed by various means, and the EU belongs among the world's most effective manipulator of many of them. One important type of soft power is the construction of multilateral institutions that are attractive to join. Today, Europeans are the world's leading supporters of global and regional institutions. Their commitment begins with the EU itself and its ring of agreements with regional neighbors. Europe has a decisive influence in managing economic interdependence, human rights, the environment, development, and health at a global level. For example, though the United States often takes credit for being the largest contributor to the United Nations, when we aggregate Europe's contribution, it is far more influential. Without European pressure, institutions like the International Criminal Court, the World Trade Center, the World Trade Organization, and other global institutions would not exist in their current form. By imposing conditionality in exchange for membership or collectively rewarding compliance, other governments become committed to institutional rules Europe has designed, thereby influencing the policies of individual states. Europe also employs models of exercising soft power, such as education. Europe is one of two educational superpowers. 27 of the world's top 100 universities are in Europe, compared with 55 in the United States, 1 in Russia, and none in China. Europe exceeds the United States in educating foreign students, hosting almost twice as many students from outside of the EU as non-Americans at United States universities, and over 10 times more students than non-Chinese studying in China. There are signs that opening up European institutions of higher learning to outsiders has been influential. For example, legal scholars have observed that the values and institutions found in most newly drafted national constitutions do not reflect American or Chinese practices, but distinctively European ones. These include social welfare rights, internationally recognized human rights, parliamentary government, and restrictions on money in politics. Beyond purely political values, Europe garners broad global admiration for its social, cultural, and lifestyle values. Among the top 2 dozen global tourist destinations, more than half are European. More profound is European dominance of almost all pools of global respect. Last year, for example, Forbes magazine asked 40,000 people worldwide which countries were the most reputable, a composite measure of happiness, cleanliness, lack of corruption, tolerance, and other qualities. Of the top 20 countries, 15 are European. By contrast, the United States ranks 28 and China 57. In terms of language, Europeans enjoy enduring advantages since the world's second languages are mostly European. English is a dominant second language globally, while French and Spanish also play important roles. The languages of other great powers, notably Mandarin and Russian, have quite limited sway. However, it's important to acknowledge the challenges Europe faces. Political fragmentation, economic disparities between member states, and external pressures from rising power are all significant issues. But these challenges are not insurmountable. Throughout unity and resilience, Europe has repeatedly shown its ability to overcome adversity and emerge stronger. In contrast, other political superpowers face significant hurdles. China, while economically powerful, is grappling with a devastating depression and population collapse. Its economic rise was built on cheap labor, a strategy no longer feasible. Additionally, China faces several human rights issues and political representation, placing it in a similar category as North Korea. India, despite its rising GDP, struggles with widespread poverty, lack of access to basic education, overregulation, hindering foreign investment, corruption, and infrastructure challenges. Russia's geopolitical ambition have turned the international community against it, leading to economic sanctions and isolation, similar to Iran. Brazil, despite its vast resources, contends with political instability, high murder rates, corruption, and social inequality. A united Europe's ability to navigate its challenges while capitalizing on its strengths sets it apart. As we move further into the 21st century, Europe's blend of economic might, cultural influence, and commitment to providing a good life for its citizens positions it as a formidable global leader. So, as we look into the future, remember this: Europe's story is one of resilience, innovation, and unity. While others may falter, Europe stands strong, ready to lead the world into a new era. This is why I believe the 21st century will be remembered as the European century.